Hi, Fake Sagan. This is the Masked Analyst. First of all, I'd like to welcome you back. It's really good seeing you back after your absence of about a month or so, and thank you for your video response. I always appreciate your videos, and I always find them entertaining and interesting, even when we disagree. Or perhaps I should say, most especially when we disagree, as in this case. Actually, I don't think our disagreement is quite as big as it might at first appear. Let me cover a few things first, though. Let me talk about my opinions about Encyclopedidramatica. Since you asked, well, how come, Masked Analyst, you can forgive Encyclopedidramatica when they do some really nasty things, such as drop docs on people, and you can't forgive Brett Keane? Why have you praised them so highly? Well, actually, I've given them mixed praise in the past, and I'm sad to say that the record of my dealings with Encyclopedidramatica is incomplete right now. You might say that I kind of pussied out here. Here's what happened. Back, I guess, in October or November of last year, I had some, shall we say, disagreements with a few of the folks in Encyclopedidramatica and how they were handling a certain situation. My disagreements were mainly with Cat and Alex Romantic Temple. I don't think they post on YouTube anymore. In any case, I haven't seen them around in quite a while. But I had disagreements over some of their attacks against a user by the name who went by Peppermint Patty, now Italian Stallionette, and Pixel Productions. And I produced a number of videos about them, and I took them to task. I also took them to task on their attack on Brave Girls 5, and they dropped her docs, and I didn't like that at all, and I made that quite well known at the time. Now, if you go look at my old videos, you won't be able to find those videos there, and I really hate to say that I did this in a way, but I took them down. And you might say, Masked Analyst, you took down your own videos? You who are against seeing the historical record altered, took them down? What are you, some sort of a hypocrite? Well, I took them down, but it was extremely reluctantly. I didn't like doing it. Reason I took them down is because I had used video clips from Cat's videos. I used them to criticize him. Now, I know he wasn't going to send out a DMCA notice to take down notice. They didn't do that, and it had been sitting up there for months. But then, let's say I got into some disagreements with a certain individual who will be known as I'll just say Red Skull. This individual at one point made a video in which he claimed that he was receiving death threats over the telephone after his real-life identity was released. I used video clips from that, short segments of his video, to prove that he was lying, to show that he was lying. And he DMCA'd that video. So I had a strike against me from that. YouTube took down the video, and I had a strike against me from that. I also have had a video removed when I reposted Nick Gisburn's video on the teachings of Muhammad, or the teachings of Islam, and that was removed. And it said, I think, inappropriate content, but there was a big issue as to whether that was inappropriate content or copyright. But in any case, that was removed also. So I had two strikes against me. On top of that, Red Skull was threatening to try and get my account banned. He was doing it, as far as I could tell. He threatened me a number of times to try and get my account banned. So as a precaution, to make sure that he didn't file a false DMCA claiming that any of my videos violated copyright, I decided to remove all the videos that I made which used clips from somebody else's videos. Now, I don't know if he would have filed a false DMCA if he had the opportunity, but I've seen him do a number of, shall we say, less than honorable things, and I just didn't want to give him the opportunity to try that. And if he had tried that, well, let me put it this way. I've seen decisions by YouTube's management that are highly questionable. The fact is, they banned Nick Gisburn under a 3 strikes and you're out rule for his third copyright infringement. Now, that third infringement was for the use of a video clip less than 2 minutes long of a piece of music, Carmina Burana. And that Carmina Burana piece was an hour long. So he used less than 2 minutes of their video clip as background music for his Islamic teaching videos. And it clearly was within fair use. No question about it. And they decided for this reason, evidently, to not only suspend him, but to give him a lifetime suspension. In the infinite wisdom of YouTube management, they thought that he deserved a longer sentence than a rapist or a pedophile would get. Even those crimes, horrible as they are, they usually don't get lifetime sentences. And YouTube, in their infinite wisdom, gave Nick the lifetime boot. So I just wanted to play it safe, so I pulled my videos. So you can't see the entire historical record. But it is quite true that in the past I have pointed out some of the behaviors of Encyclopedidramatica that I don't like. You have to remember this though. Encyclopedidramatica is a wiki. It's got thousands and thousands of articles in it by, I'm sure, at least many dozens, perhaps hundreds of different contributors. It's an absolutely huge site. I'm only familiar with a small portion of that site. I spent some time on it. It's a parody site. It's a satire site, and you call it a troll site. And yes, a lot of trolls do hang out there, and it is a troll site. But some of it is quite funny. Some of it's in extremely poor taste. And I said before that I like some of it, and I dislike other parts of it. And I'm not going to sugarcoat the record. There are certain parts that I dislike. And in general, I dislike the dropping of docs, of personal documents, and I've made that known in the past as well. There's an exception. I think if somebody goes out and threatens to kill another YouTuber or rape them or something like that, I don't think that they should have the right to make their threats while maintaining a cloak of anonymity. I think that once you step over the line and threaten to rape or physically harm or kill somebody, that you ought to lose your cloak of anonymity. So if they discover who is behind those threats, it doesn't bother me if they publish the name. Now, one thing that I have noticed in the past, and again, this is just one instance, but if you feel like you're being treated unfairly by Encyclopedidramatica, you can have what is called as an ARB chat, and that's where you go when you instant message with the folks at Encyclopedidramatica, and you tell them why you think you're being treated unfairly. And sometimes they'll give you abuse online. They'll poke fun of you while you're doing this sometimes. But the one time that I'm really familiar with, Red Skull said, "Hey, I don't like the fact that you have my name on there, my real life name." And they agreed to certain conditions that if Red Skull had carried out, they would remove his name. Well, he carried out most of the conditions, so they removed most of the instances of his personal information. Let me put it this way. They carried out their end of the bargain to the same extent that Red Skull carried out his end of the bargain. So, from what I've seen, at least the one instance that I'm really familiar with, They did hold up their word. They did go by their word. Now you say they're full of lies, and why is that different than what Brett does? Why are you able to forgive them for the lies? First of all, yes, they are full of lies, or shall I say embellishments, nasty comments, that sort of thing. Usually, however, I find that within most of the articles that I see, there's at least a kernel of truth. They don't just make things up out of whole cloth. There's usually an underlying kernel of truth, and then they build on it. It's a satire or a parody site. And they don't hesitate to state this up front. If you go look at their, I think, they stated very prominently that anybody who goes and reads it is going to know that they're not the source to quote if you want a factually accurate report, and they don't portray themselves to be the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or pick your news source of record. They don't portray themselves as being the great truth tellers. They carry their own caveat. They carry their own quote-unquote buyers beware. Anyone who goes and looks around their site is going to know to take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or a sack of salt, if you will. Now, Brett is very different. First of all, you have on the one hand a very large organization with many, many contributors. Some will be more factual and accurate than others, and you know that. Brett, on the other hand, as far as I know, has never said, "Hey, folks, what I'm going to say is pure bullshit. Yeah, there's going to be some grains of truth in there, but take what you want with a huge sack of salt. Don't take me so seriously. I'm just a clown." No, he's never made that approach. He's always, at least as far as I can tell, try to appear like he was telling the story as it is. And when you're an individual, you have more control. First of all, there's you not only have more control over what you say than, say, hundreds of people contributing, but he doesn't put it up front that when he's going to give you a bullshit story, when he lies about someone, he doesn't give you a warning and say, "Folks, I'm about to tell a whopping lie about this person, and here it is." So he's not up front about not being honest. So there's I think there's a big difference between them. Okay, let's see. There were a couple of other issues I wanted to get into. So that's why. Okay, well, that's why I can forgive Encyclopedia's lies and not Brett's lies. Encyclopedidramatica is up front that they're not the source of all truth, although there is often a large grain of truth within their articles, but not always. Now, you said as far as loyalty, I respect loyalty if it's deserved and if it's given for the right reasons. Okay, I can respect that. Loyalty is an admirable thing, but loyalty should only be given so far. Okay, one can get into a lot of trouble if one values loyalty too highly, especially if one values it above, say, truth or competence. And I give an example of Donald Rumsfeld. George Bush was extremely loyal to Donald Rumsfeld, and I can admire Bush's loyalty, but he paid a heavy price in the last elections, and this country has paid a heavy price for Rumsfeld's incompetence. I mean, I'm not going to lay all the incompetence, blame for all the incompetence of the Bush administration at Rumsfeld's feet, but a very large part of the blunders that have happened has been his fault. Yeah, again, as far as Bush, if you want my opinion of the Bush administration, if I had to sum it up in one word, it would be incompetence. And look at the situation with Hurricane Katrina. I'm blanking out on the guy's name, Brownie, the person they put in charge of FEMA. He was a loyal Bush supporter. Unfortunately, he had absolutely no qualifications for running FEMA, but Bush gave him the job at the head of FEMA because he was a loyal supporter. So loyalty is fine and all well and good, but it has its place, and it's not the end-all and be-all. And I don't value loyalty above the truth. I mean, if I have to choose one or the other, I'm going to go for the truth. So you just run into a few problems with that. Now, you ask, I guess the key thing that you say is, why can't you forgive Brett? And you didn't really want us to bow down in homage to Brett, but you wanted us to acknowledge the contributions that Brett has made. Well, I sort of implied, but maybe I didn't state it strongly enough, that Brett has made some very important contributions. Part of my insistence that it would be good to maintain the historical record, part of the reason why I didn't like to see Brett's 1,000 videos pulled down for his infraction, is because he has made a significant contribution. There's no denying that. And many of his videos were quite good. And so I'm sorry to see that they were pulled. But forgiveness, I'm afraid that in order for me to forgive someone, there needs to be two conditions. Two conditions have to be met. First, they have to acknowledge that what they've done was wrong. They have to say, I'm sorry, I screwed up, I made a mistake. I'm a human being, okay? I made a mistake and I screwed up, and I'm going to be careful. I'm going to try real hard next time not to do the same thing again, not to screw up again like that. They have to show some sort of repentance or some sort of indication that they know what they did was wrong. Brett's never done that. Not once did he say, "My God, folks," or "My non-existent being, folks," or whatever. He never said, my non-existent being, folks, I was wrong. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have lied about this person like this. I shouldn't have plagiarized. I shouldn't have implied that Judalicious was trying to frame me with photoshopped evidence. That was wrong. That was immature. I did this in self-defense. I shouldn't have done it. Looking back, what I did was wrong. Please forgive me. And without asking for that forgiveness, I can't forgive. Without any sort of indication that he's even going to try and change his path, I can't forgive. And even if he did make those statements, I can forgive him for anything he may have done against me, but it's not my place to forgive him for the slights that he has caused to Judalicious. I don't feel like it's my place to forgive him for trying to frame Judalicious for something. Just as I don't think that it's my place necessarily to forgive him for what he tried to do to you, unless you forgive him first for that. So we have a somewhat different philosophy on forgiveness. Now, you mentioned you're from the no harm, no foul school of philosophy, that he did try to destroy you or your reputation, but his attempt was so feeble that you couldn't help forgive him, kind of have pity on him. I'm not from the no harm, no foul school of forgiveness. If someone, let me ask you, if someone were to point a gun at you, but they were so incompetent that they forgot to load the gun, and they were to try and rob you or kill you, or they pulled the trigger, and nothing came out because they were so incompetent they forgot to load the gun, are you going to forgive them because of their incompetence? How's this? Suppose a bunch of Al-Qaeda who forgot to read their Terrorists for Dummies book, screwed up on making explosives, and they planted a bomb, and it was a dud. And the U.S. government found out who did it, and we captured them and threw them in prison. Do you think that we should follow the no harm, no foul rule? No. again, I'm willing to give forgiveness if there's some sort of real acknowledgement that you're wrong. But even in those cases, in these extreme cases, I wouldn't forgive in those situations. Now, please don't mistake me or misunderstand me. These are kind of like analogies to show why I'm not in the no harm, no foul school. I don't mean to imply that what Brett did was anywhere near as bad as trying to kill somebody or plant a bomb, or that he was anywhere near as bad as Al-Qaeda. So I hope that nobody misunderstands my remarks. I don't mean to compare him to them. I should have mentioned a little while back about the DMCA. I probably have been, as you can see from this video, from what I've already told you, been playing a little bit too strong on the defense. Maybe if you want to call me cowardly, go ahead. If the shoe fits. The way I pulled down my videos so that nobody would be able to file a false DMCA complaint. I really didn't think that it was likely that you would file a DMCA complaint against me. Hard case. I really didn't think it was likely, but I couldn't rule out the possibility 100%. So I mentioned that. So I could see you take a little bit of offense. So you questioned that a little bit with my stating that, and so I want to say, yeah, I'm sorry. If I could take back what I said, I would. So I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to. I should have weakened that statement considerably. And finally, you stated that your main point in making that video wasn't to pwn people for not bowing down to Brett and saying, "Oh, you're a wonderful guy" and all that. You just wanted us to acknowledge his contribution. And I probably wouldn't have made my video if I had understood that that's indeed what you wanted. I have no problems with acknowledging Brett's contribution. He made some very good videos. I have no problem with that at all. I just misunderstood what you were trying to get at, and for that I apologize. Maybe I'm not quite as sharp as I'd like to be, but all things considered, I don't really think we're that far apart on this basic issue. But I thank you for the reply, and I hope that this puts the issue to rest. I'd love to see Brett come to the realization that he has created a lot of his own problems. I don't watch his videos on live video anymore, but if somebody tells me, "Hey, Masked Analyst, Brett's done an about face, he's finally apologized, he wants to come clean," then I would welcome that development. Though I don't have the power to do really much of anything to the ones who run, or to persuade the ones who run YouTube to let him back, I would certainly love to see YouTube let him back on if he has a change in attitude. I think the lifetime bans that YouTube make, except for the most extreme, egregious circumstances, I don't think that they should have lifetime bans. But hey, the gods of YouTube know best, or it's their site, and they'll damn well do as they please. Not too much we can do about that. Well, this has been the Masked Analyst, under and in. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. You asked for some evidence that Brett had indeed plagiarized and tried to frame Judalicious for photoshopping that. I'll post some evidence in the sidebar. I also mentioned, and I forgot to mention this as well, at one point I called Encyclopedidramatica, what they did was heroic. I was referring to one particular story, and some of that is more than the reporting. They talk about some things that some Bantown trolls did, and I'm not sure the exact relationship between Encyclopedidramatica and Bantown, but I'm under the impression that a lot of some of the people are in both organizations. There's an overlap between them. And what they did is, there's this guy, a very nasty fellow named Hal Turner, and he's an extreme racist, and he's come this close to calling for the assassination of many of the members of Congress. He dances around the line. He uses he says someday we may have to kill them or something like that. He doesn't actually call for their deaths, but he dances so close to calling for the overthrow of the U.S. government. He's a really nasty piece of work. And if you look at the article they have on him, I think that was kind of a heroic piece of journalism that they did, and the activity that some of their members have taken, and members of other organizations such as 4chan, and again, I think there's some overlap in the membership of Encyclopedidramatica and 4chan. But if anyone wants to correct my impression if I'm wrong, please do so. But I think that what they did was, in the Hal Turner situation, was quite a brave and a noble thing to do. I think they were on target, and I commend them for that. And I encourage you to read about Hal Turner and what they did, and I'll post some links in the sidebar to that. Okay, well, I guess it's time for me to sign off. I've proven once again, I think, that I may be your only challenge to being the biggest windbag on YouTube. I wish I had your delivery. At least you're a little more entertaining than I am, but so be it. This is the Mass Analyst, under and in.